There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set.
Most commonly asked question is, if you can go back in time, would you? Here at Comic Crooks, we're going to go over some movies that really make us think about that question and that answer.
Yeah, for me, time travel makes you scratch your head the most. Because, like, you know, they call it the, I think it's the paradox, the time travel paradox. Like, if you were to go back and change time and change something that happened, would you even have the sequences of events that made you choose to change time?
Right, yeah.
You know, like, we're going to get into it, but, like, that's my big thing with time travel is, like, such a cool concept. You know, in the 80s, we had a lot of awesome time travel movies, but, yeah, we're going to get into that.
For sure. Why don't you start it off with one of the movies?
All right, so we got to start off with Back to the Future.
Yeah, a classic right there.
Going back in time.
Yeah.
So, you know, that it was, you know, Marty McFly, Doc Brown, you know, like the classic DeLorean. You know, like, I thought that was like the coolest time machine of all time. To not use the word time over and over and over again. But it had the neatest device. It was called the flux capacitor.
Yep.
You know,
I remember it.
Yeah, it took 81.88. What is it? 121 point gigawatts.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it had to hit 88 miles an hour. And you know, if you guys have never seen Back to the Future, I'm really surprised you're listening to this show if you've never seen Back to the Future.
It's quite a classic. I mean, it's definitely an 80s, 90s classic. I know I'm born in the 90s, and I definitely heard of Back to the Future. That's one of the most classic films out there.
Oh, yeah, they made 3 of them.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, like
Yes,
my favorite one was number 3. When
the one where he met his mom was kind of weird.
Yeah, she wanted to fuck him.
Yeah, that was like...
She was like, your underwear say Calvin Klein. He's like, you saw my underwear? She's like, she starts calling him Calvin because she thinks his name is Calvin Klein because it's written on his underwear.
Yeah.
But the third one is awesome because that's the one where they go back to the Old West. And they recreate one of my favorite movie scenes. Is called the movie's called Fistful of Dollars. It's a Clint Eastwood movie. Everybody out there knows how much I love Good, Bad, and the Ugly and all that. It's where he wears and Clint Eastwood under his poncho puts the front of an iron stove and basically creates a bulletproof vest. You know, and they shoot him and they think they kill him, and then he stands up and then takes off the string and this big piece of iron falls out of his poncho.
That's fire.
Yeah, you know, and they do that in Back to the Future 3.
That's dope, man. Hell yeah.
You know, so, you know, for a kid of my age, a kid of that time, you know, it was like pretty amazing, you know, and they even make fun of it. Have you seen a Million Ways to Die in the West?
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's Seth MacFarlane. It's a cowboy movie. But he's like, Seth MacFarlane's like walking through his town that he lives in and sees like this barn with like lights flashing, and which can obviously sounds like a welder. And he opens the door, and it's Christopher Lloyd, who played Doc Brown, and he's working on the DeLorean and covers it up. He's like, you didn't see anything.
That's fucking funny, bro. That's funny as hell.
And like Doc Brown got the whole idea for time travel because he was changing his light bulb and fell off like he was standing on his toilet and was changing his light bulb and fell off his toilet and hit his head on the sink, and he woke up and he had the plans for the flux capacitor in his head.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But, you know, the first one, I want to say the first one came out in like 88 or 89. You know, it was Michael J. Fox's like breakout movie.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, and Christopher Lloyd had been around forever. You know, he was in Taxi, and he played Uncle Fester.
Yeah, the Addams Family and stuff like that, yeah.
So, do you have any off the top of your head?
One of my favorites, even though it's kind of like, it's a bittersweet movie for me, is the Days of Future Past X-Men. It was, I like the movie. I love the movie. but it has its flaws.
Well,
Obviously,
they did Colossus dirty in that movie.
Yeah,
They did Colossus
I
dirty
didn't
in
like
that.
the end Sentinels, like the present day Sentinels
Right.
didn't look right to me. But
Well-
I understood why they looked that way because of in the past they take the genes of Mystique.
Well,
and
see,
they
that's
combine mutant abilities to the Sentinels.
that's the thing though. Is in the comic books, that's Nimrod.
Yeah,
That's a whole different type of Sentinel.
yeah, exactly.
And that's the one that can travel time. It can travel dimensions and find a mutant. Mutant genes detected.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I'm used to the Sentinels with the purple and the big robots and stuff like that.
Well, and I always love, just since we're talking about Sentinels and stuff right now, like I always, one of my, growing up in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, one of my favorite cartoon moments is when they did Night of the Sentinels in the X-Men cartoon.
Yeah.
Mutant will stand down. It's just so good. It's where they capture Morph, and that's just me. I'm a DC, I'm a DC guy, but I love X-Men.
He loves Marvel. I think, but the thing that was great about the time travel thing within that movie was there was a lot of like, if you do something in the past, it will affect the future.
Right.
Right. So,
well, like when
the whole goal
when
was-
Wolverine got sent back psychically because he didn't physically go back, right?
right. Yeah.
Like he didn't have his adamantium.
So yeah. So his psyche went back to his body within the time period that they needed him to be in.
Right.
So that was the source of time travel within that movie. Was that?
Right. And it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it is.
Because that's when he goes back and meets Professor X and
Magneto's in it.
why am I drawing a blank on Beast's name?
I forget his
Oh
name
my
too.
god!
now.
Oh my god! That's so stupid that I can't remember his name.
But yeah,
Hank McCoy. Hank McCoy.
Yeah, Hank McCoy.
Yeah, he meets I forget the guy's name that plays him, but the guy that plays Hank in that movie is going to be in the new Dracula movie. It's called Renfield.
I'm all with it.
Yeah, dude.
I'm all with it. I like the actor a lot. He was actually in Warm Bodies.
Yes.
I liked that movie a lot. I thought that was a really good one. But yeah, no, I liked the fact that this movie took a different take on time travel as far as like compared to a movie like Endgame.
Right.
So Endgame was a physical time traveling experience, right? Because they physically put their bodies through the time traveling portal and
Well, here's my thing: is with Endgame, the time travel paradox. Like if Steve went back and did all these things, he'd have never met the Avengers.
Right.
Would have never been a super soldier. But when you meet him as an old man, he's still Chris Evans big, and they all know who he is.
right.
So that's like I said, it's just time travel paradox. It's just how it's going to go.
The theory about that movie that I thought that was pretty cool is when the present day after the events of Endgame, Chris Evans, Steve Rogers go back in time to bring all the stones back to its present
Original owners.
original owners. It says the one stone that wouldn't be what's it called
Couldn't
that
return.
couldn't return would be the Soul Stone.
That's one where Gamora sacrificed herself, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Because the price had been paid.
Exactly. So what they're saying is, he would have had seen Red Skull, who was the guardian there, and he would have freed him of his duty until that stone was released, and then he can go ahead and be free to live out his life.
Right.
So maybe that particular Steve, because of what he did in the events of Endgame, was the Soul Stone's keeper.
Well, in essence, everything that happened in Endgame basically reset everything. Basically, as a timeline,
Right. Yeah.
So basically, everything that has happened in all the Avengers movies, all the Marvel movies, are that timeline.
Well, have you seen the Loki?
Of course, I have. Yeah.
So they described it in the TBA. So the TBA is the
variance,
the time variant, association or whatever.
Yeah.
They said everything that happened in Endgame was according to plan. They were supposed to go back in time and do A, B, and C. The only thing that wasn't supposed to happen was Loki getting away from that
The
particular
TVA.
time, and him escaping.
And the Loki series legit was good.
Yeah.
I watched WandaVision. I enjoyed WandaVision. I never got to watch Hawkeye simply because I just don't have Disney Plus anymore. But, like, Loki was good, and I loved. I can't believe I didn't think to write down Loki.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had time traveling concepts.
Well, that's
within
the whole point of that show.
Yeah. The introduction to Kang, which is Kang the
Kang
Conqueror,
the Conqueror.
all the time, right?
He's going to be, as far as I'm concerned, in the MCU, he's going to be the next Thanos.
He's going to be worse than Thanos.
Yeah.
He's going to be a lot worse than Thanos. There's even a rumor that they're going to bring back Thanos to help the Avengers to stop Kang. But yeah, in Endgame they use the multi-dimensional like jumping and stuff like that as far as using the quantum realm.
The quantum realm.
They went through the quantum realm. Excuse me, for time travel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a cool way of going about it. It was interesting because of the whole Scott Lang being trapped in the quantum realm where he felt was 5 hours.
Yeah,
and it was 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
So
because his daughter grew up and everything. Mm-hmm. So to keep everything moving, I got to go Terminator, bro. Terminator.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Yeah. And then the big twist of John Connor being, the actual bad guy.
Well, the guy that sent the Terminator back to begin with.
Yeah. He was the, in retrospect, he was the,
he was the villain.
He was the villain. He was the Oz, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the great Oz, the
so,
face behind everything, but nobody knew.
So you got to go back. There's been like 7 fucking Terminator movies, but I got to refer to the first 2. Terminator. So there was again, if you guys haven't seen Terminator, why are you listening to this show?
Yeah.
Go. So the Terminator is a cybernetic organism that's sent back through time. Because we've talked about the version of time travel in each one.
Yep.
Like they can't send back inorganic material. So the Terminator is a robot wrapped in human skin. And so it can be sent back in time to kill the mother of John Connor to stop the rebellion.
Right.
But, you find out through the course of the movies that John Connor is the one that sent him back to start with.
Right.
But,
and then, the way it was portrayed is that John Connor is the people's hero, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the crazy twist, is that the whole time he was really, truly the villain.
Yeah. Because, you start off with the T-100, mm-hmm. which is Arnold, which will always be Arnold. There's never going to be,
big facts, yeah.
And then Terminator 2, T2. When that hit the theaters, man, I remember going to see that with my dad. I want to say it was 99, maybe.
Right.
And me and my dad went and bought tickets early, and we still had to stand in the back of the theater to watch that movie. It was
that's crazy.
The theater was so packed that we had to stand. We literally spent the entire movie just standing in the back. Like, have you seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
It's like they promised we could stay in as long as we stood in the back and didn't smoke. But yeah, I remember standing there with my dad for 2 hours, just completely happy to stand there and watch that movie. You got the T-1000 made of liquid metal. It was just Terminator and Terminator 2, in my mind, are like the quintessential like time travel movies.
For sure,
But here's the thing: is the paradox comes in again. If the Terminator succeeds, he would have never been sent back in the first place.
Well, yeah, because John Connor would have never been born.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's why you can always like quote Neil deGrasse Tyson and stuff like that. Time travel. Doctor Who. Are you familiar with Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Say time is more like a rug that can be folded on itself. So like every timeline is different. Every timeline is this, that, or the other thing, and timelines can cross over. But I'm not smart enough to talk about that.
We can't get into the science.
Yeah,
that's like the perfect time that we put in a clip from The Tick.
Yeah, how does time work? Never mind.
Another one that's really interesting is how they did it in the animated DC film Flashpoint.
Speaking of which, I'm wearing the hoodie. And
yes,
so for me, we even talked about it before we started the episode. The Flash is actually probably the most important character in DC
for sure,
because he's reset the history like 4 or 5 times now. And so specifically Flashpoint Paradox, Barry Allen, the original Flash, goes back to stop his mother from being killed.
Right. Yep.
And here's the thing: is if he would have succeeded, he would have never become the Flash. So he wouldn't have been able to even go back in time to begin with. You know. So here's the thing: is Ubar Thawne, the Reverse Flash. The whole reason that Barry Allen's mother was killed is Reverse Flash went back in time to kill Barry's mother.
So Barry was never born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so and then what ends up happening is his father gets framed for the murder.
Yeah, Hank's put in jail, and then he goes out to try to prove his father's innocence.
And that's why Barry becomes a forensic analyst. Mm-hmm. So essentially, Ubar Thawne, the Reverse Flash, creates the Flash.
Yeah, you know what? This is not the Flash, but it's very funny. So this is very similar. There's an episode in Powerpuff Girls, because my son watches this. He's 8 months and he loves the old Powerpuff Girls. But we watched it together because that's my little dude. And there's an episode where the Professor Utonium is showing the class on career day this new invention that he made, which is a time traveling invention, right? And Mojo Jojo travels back in time to when Professor Utonium, before he becomes actually interested in science, because at first he's a little asshole. If you ever seen that episode, he's a little bully.
I used to watch
he's a little asshole. Well, in response to everything that Mojo Jojo does to try to stop that is actually the reason that Utonium gets into science and creates the Powerpuff Girls, because Powerpuff
Sugar
Girls
and spice and everything nice.
Yeah, so the Powerpuff Girls from present day go into the thing to chase Mojo Jojo and saves young Professor Utonium from Mojo Jojo. And when he wakes up, he's obsessed with the thought of the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
So that's the whole reason. So in response,
See, that's good time travel writing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's Powerpuff. It's Powerpuff Girls, but it's
you guys have to watch the episode. Yeah,
it's Powerpuff Girls, but it's good time travel writing.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So and then it only clicks in his head after he goes, "It was you girls all along."
Yeah.
So
see.
that's what made him so obsessed with trying to create the Powerpuff Girls. And so Mojo Jojo, in response, is the reason that Utonium becomes.
And that's so I'm repeating myself, but that's good time travel story writing.
It really is. Like I was like, oh shit. Okay.
Like I watched a movie called Looper.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just bad time travel story writing. It
can get messy with time travel.
Well, it's because it's the whole paradox. You know what I mean? It's like this, that. You know, you can get super creative and be like, oh yeah, this caused this and this prevented that. Mm-hmm. But if you get sloppy with it, it's just like what?
So one thing we were talking a little bit about DC. I'm gonna flip it over to Marvel just a little bit, and I don't know why I didn't write this down, but I think it's something that we should mention. Is the What If Season 1.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an episode with Doctor Strange, which, if you guys are not familiar, it's an animated MCU-related cartoon, which is awesome. There's an episode with Doctor Strange where they talk about he sees that his love interest is going to die. And they tell him that it's a I'm probably going to missay what they called it, the reference, but it's pretty much it's a permanent point in time. So no matter how much time, because he used the time gem to try to reverse things multiple times to try to stop her death. But no matter what he was doing, that is a permanent thing that has to happen. So it does happen, regardless of how much he tries to stop it, which I think is another interesting way of writing of time travel and stuff
like
that.
No matter what, this event's going to happen.
Yeah, and I forget what...
It might happen in a different way, but it's going to happen. Because the What If series came from the 90s.
Yeah, but then What If comics,
yeah. You know, like my favorite was What If Spider-Man kept his 6 arms? Uh-huh. That was a real good one, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up because, like you said, there's a lot of movie scenarios that they kind of miss the point of no matter what, this event's going to happen. It might happen differently, and different people might be involved, but it's still going to happen.
Well, now I'm kind of just bouncing backwards, but like in one of the Terminator movies, right? They stopped Skynet.
That's right.
But
the
here's the
bombs
twist.
still go off.
It didn't matter that they stopped Skynet because another company ended up doing exactly what the Terminators end up going to do. So it was bound to happen.
Yeah. No matter what,
it was bound to happen. Yeah.
And then John and forget the character's name. They still end up in a bunker. They still end up in there when the bombs go off.
Yep.
And Judgment Day still happens.
Yep. Just a different company.
Yeah.
It wasn't Skynet.
Yeah, exactly. And there was 3 Terminators going after him in that one.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, dude, Terminator is I think a good like benchmark as far as like time travel movies go.
For sure.
Yeah. So my next one, speaking of benchmark for time travel, is Bill and Ted. And you said you weren't familiar with that.
I'm not too familiar with
so
it yet.
there's 3 Bill and Ted movies, and all of them are amazing. Their time travel method is a phone booth that is a quantum kind of like goes into a quantum network tube.
Okay.
And they literally stand on this phone booth and type in like they type in a phone number and it sends them to a certain spot in time, certain spot area and date, and they like zip through these things that looks like phone lines. And,
okay.
And then it drops, boom, and they're there. And you saw the clip where like there's something amiss going on at the Circle K.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was Keanu Reeves, young Keanu.
Yeah, it was like one of his first movies, but it goes Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and then Bill and Ted Face the Music. And Face the Music came out in 2021. You know, so it was really weird, but it was good. But so the whole concept of the Bill and Ted movies is like in the first one they have to do a history report, and they're just these 80s rockers that don't care about anything. And this guy Rufus comes from the future, says you guys are the people, the 2 of you are the ones that saved the world through a song, and that's their whole thing. And, you know, so they have to go, long story short, in the first movie, they go back and forth through time collecting all these historical figures to put on a history report. So they bring back Genghis Khan. They bring back Napoleon, like just people.
People at that time period.
Yeah. And then in the second one, they're basically, they're trying to win the Battle of the Bands. And that's the whole point of that movie. So they go back and get all these fucking crazy fucking musicians and win the Battle of the Bands.
That's fine.
You know, so it, like one of my favorite scenes from that movie is like in the second one, they're on stage and they're sucking. It's the end of the movie and they're on stage and their music sucks, and then Bill turns to Ted's like, man, we really should have taken time to learn these instruments. You know, and then they in the middle of the stage is the phone booth. So they both step into the phone booth, and the phone booth like zips into the ground and then zips out of the sky and then back onto the stage. And when Bill and Ted both get out, they have beards and they have kids on their back, they're like carrying kids.
Yeah.
You know, so they spent 6 years in medieval times learning their instruments and came back to the exact time that they left, and then it rocked the house.
That's crazy.
You know,
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so like Bill and Ted's pretty amazing, and like it's one of those ones that's a quintessential 80s 90s movie.
For sure.
Yeah.
So this kind of off track. It's still on track, but off track. I was just thinking, so if you guys are familiar with Samurai Jack, the newest one that came out the last episode.
Back in time, Samurai Jack.
Yeah, so that's a good time travel one.
Yeah.
At the very end, so
it's got to go back to the past, Samurai Jack.
Yeah, so everything Samurai Jack actually does to save his love interest,
he makes things worse.
Actually makes it worse because the last episode, he literally marries her and she fades away.
Yeah, exactly.
Because no matter what, it's a standpoint. She's going to not exist, or she's going to die regardless.
Yeah.
So everything he did.
Cool.
Yeah, so everything he did was pretty much for nothing.
Dude, Samurai Jack, I'm glad you brought that up. That was such an amazing series.
But if you guys gotta first of all treat yourself. Go and rewatch the whole series from season 1. I want to say season 5 or 6.
Well, then they did a new season like a year ago.
It's phenomenal.
Well,
and it's good time traveling writing too.
Orlando Jones does Jack's voice, and he's the guy that does John Edwards and the Justice League Green Lantern. He's the Green Lantern. And,
oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, that's just random nerd knowledge that I have.
Hey,
I
like that.
Orlando Jones was on Mad TV. You know, he's been in a lot of random shit.
For sure.
Yeah, Samurai Jack was so good. Like every one of the episodes was so much fun.
It was, and then you almost forget that this is a time traveling situation
because he's a samurai that's taken from feudal Japan to like year 3000 or something like that.
Yeah, so it's in the future. Yeah,
there's this evil Oni god, and Oni is a Japanese demon that just runs the world named Aku.
Yep.
And like one of my favorite ones is he ends up at a rave.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Or those weird little monkeys that teach him how to jump. We jump. So my next one, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, was an Army of Darkness. Like Army of Darkness is my favorite movie series of all time. So this time travel method in this one is magic. So he fights these zombie-esque creatures called Deadites, recites a passage that is supposed to stop the Deadites and, save everybody's life, and it opens a portal and takes him back to medieval England. Like, I don't know why he goes to England when he's, like, in, like, New Jersey. But it's, I remember...
Do you understand time travel? Never mind.
Never mind. But, he's, at the opening of the movie, he kills a demon with his quote-unquote boomstick.
Yep.
Which is his 12-gauge break open, which he never actually reloads, and you hear him cock it, which is really strange. It's a double barrel.
Yeah.
It's a double barrel break open, and you hear. It's like, but growing up, I was like, that was kind of part of the charm.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's got this double barrel break open that could only be 2 rounds, but you hear boom, boom. But there's also scenes of him breaking it open and reloading it. It's just the 90s.
Nothing will ever be perfect from the 90s.
It's like, you told me I was beautiful once. Well, that was just pillow talk, baby.
Perfectly imperfect. Those are the best way to describe it.
Like, I loved Army of Darkness. For me, is like one of the most perfect movies ever. Like, they're the mix between like horror and just like silliness. Like,
it's crazy.
When that doppelganger, that clone, more or less gets made of him when he cuts his hand off.
Yeah.
And he like shoots him in the face. He's like, good, bad. I'm the guy with the gun. And like just shoots him in the face, and then he's got him in a hole in the ground, and he's like, the good Ash is burying bad Ash, and he's all chopped up. And he's like, hey, you got a little something on your face there, and he throws fucking shovel of dirt on his face. and he's fighting the same Ash when he comes back, and Ash throws a knife at him, and it sticks in his back, and goes, backstabber! It's like, come on, man.
Just the puns are unbelievable. The puns are unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, you already mentioned Avengers. Have you ever seen Frequency?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I have.
It's a very little known movie, but it's about this guy that works. He basically works for a radio station, and has to bring his work home because of there's just a. Long story short, the station gets shut down, and he has to bring his equipment home.
Right. Yeah.
So he ends up somehow connecting through the ether with his dad that died 20 years before he was born.
Oh shit! That's crazy.
So he, not 20 years before he was born, he was. I forget the premise, but basically, his dad was dead and didn't know him growing up.
Right.
So 20 years before he was born, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah.
We get it.
Yeah, so, but more or less, he gets to know his dad over talking like what we're doing.
Right, yeah.
And gets to know his dad, and it's Dennis Quaid is the dad, which is one of my favorite actors, and I forget the main actor's name, but it's this really cool thing about this guy getting to know his father only over like talking through a CB radio.
I'm gonna have to watch that one. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, like I fucked up the premise, but
no, that's fine.
Like watch it. It's really good. And then then Planet of the Apes. That one, the time travel on that one is E equals MC squared. Because the astronauts go into space, and when you equals MC squared, when you travel past the speed of light, time goes slower for you. The Charlton Heston, the main actor, comes back to Earth. Humans are gone, and apes have evolved and taken over the planet. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the original Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, I have seen the original.
Get your paws off me, you dirty apes.
You know what's a good one is? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take away from the Planet of the Apes. It just kind of hit me. Is this year, last year's Buzz Lightyear movie.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, because that does have time travel.
Well, that's all about time travel.
Yeah, so even Zorg, Buzz Lightyear
is Zorg
from a different time period, a different dimension.
Yeah, because he Buzz Lightyear is Zorg.
Yeah,
and that like just blew my mind.
Yeah, I was like, and it was really well done. I mean, I watched the movie like, holy shit, this is good.
Yeah, like you said, it's just good.
Yeah,
and what's the little robotic cat's name?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
He's all
Yeah.
danger, 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 danger. Like you said, it's actually a pretty good example of a time travel movie because
Sure, yeah.
because that's another equals MC square movie. Because he's like trying to perfect the what do they call it, light drive or something.
Yep.
You know, so like he's trying to zip around whatever moon or whatever.
It'd be his time or something like that.
Yeah. So each time he comes back, like 10 years has passed.
Yeah,
But for him, it's only been one.
He's the same. Yeah, he's the same dude. He's the same.
So and then like each time he comes back, his boss is older, and then his boss has a kid, and you know.
And his boss is his best friend.
Right.
That's his best friend, and then yeah. So pretty much even to the point where he does it, and one of the very last times he does it, he comes back and that whole program that he used to work for is a
Stark
whole
Man.
whole different. It's not even Stark Command anymore. It's a whole different
Right,
thing.
because they make this whole little community on that planet because everything there is like deadly, and they've decided, you know, Buzz leaving all the time and being gone for a decade at a time. They're like, we're just gonna like do our own thing and make a community.
Yep.
And like Buzz is like, no, we're getting back to Star Command. You know, and then Buzz fights his older self,
Which was sick. The whole movie was honestly crazy good. I was like, shit, this is a good movie, man. It's really, like you said, a good example of time travel.
Well, and there's a lot of people that complain that Tim Allen didn't do the voice. And the thing is if you like look at all the stuff, it's the lore of Toy Story. The thing is Tim Allen played a toy that was based off of the movie Lightyear.
Yeah, so in the beginning of the movie, it explains that this is the movie
That inspired the
Andy
toy.
watched.
Yes.
And the merch from this movie is Tim Allen's Buzz Lightyear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Another good one. I'm sorry.
No,
go
ahead.
Another good one is there is an episode in Batman Beyond where he goes back in time and meets younger Bruce Wayne,
And
older
Static
Bruce,
Shock.
right? And older Bruce Wayne comes with him, and there's a scene where they're trying to interrogate the Scarecrow, and younger Bruce Wayne, you know, he's Batman. He holds him over a building, and he's like, start talking because my arms are getting
my arms are getting tired.
they're getting tired. And then old Bruce Wayne was like, I can't believe I used to be so something like. He's like, this is how you interrogate somebody. He beat the fuck out of him. You know what I mean? He's like, so that was a crazy ass situation. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up because I remember that there was old Bruce watching young Bruce, and you know, like time travel, especially with DC Comics, is kind of sketchy because like every time they do that, they change the whole universe.
Well, the thing is about DC is DC has different Earths.
Yes.
So Earth Prime, Earth 1, they have a whole bunch of different Earths. So it kind of makes sense via like default kind of answer. Like it's okay if something happens on this Earth because something is already different on this Earth.
Right, like the new 52 and all that. Yeah.
Right, correct. So like there's a particular Earth where Batman's older brother, he had an older brother, and he's Owlman.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Owlman's a gangster too.
Owlman beats Batman's ass all the time.
Yep. Outsmarts him, outfights him,
All the time.
Owlman, dude. Oh my god.
So these are a few of our just. Did you have any more?
The last one I got's TMNT 3, Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
That's the one where the Ninja Turtles find a scepter that's magical, and it brings them back in time, and they
medieval, right? Medieval times.
No, it's a feudal Japan.
Yeah.
And they think that they're Oni. They think that they're demons. You know, like I have an Oni tattooed right there. You know, they think that they're Oni. You know, and then like Michelangelo teaches them how to. Raphael teaches the kids how to make a kite, and you know, and this whole thing, and they go back, and this like evil emperor has like this scroll, and the turtles are there.
Yeah,
the turtles are on the scroll,
which means that they were destined to go back in time and be in that time period.
Yeah,
another really good writing. As far
exactly.
As, like,
you know, and then the turtles teach them about like forgiveness and humility and honor and this, that, and the other thing, and then the turtles learn the real way of the samurai from these fucking samurai that they train with. Mm-hmm. You know, and then Casey Jones doesn't get to go back with them and all that. And one of my favorite ones is says, I forget how Casey Jones phrases it, but he says something that sounds like homophobic. he says a word that sounds like homophobic.
Yep.
And Donatello points at him and laughs. He goes, and Casey Jones, hey, I've never looked at another guy.
Dude, these are just some of the awesome movies. I mean, there's so much more. There's so much more.
We scratched the surface.
Yeah. If we miss them, please hit us up. We haven't been very active, and we're very, very, very apologetic to everybody who's been listening and kind of waiting in and stuff like that.
Life happens.
Life stuff happens. We have families. Both of us have kids. We're trying to do our best to spread ourselves for you, and then also take care of the things we need to take care of.
Yeah.
But we do promise to be more productive as far as putting in more to the Comic Crooks and the Comic Crook fan, which is everybody out there that's listening. And we love you, man. Thank you so much for rocking with us. And we hope everybody out there is
safe New Year, have a good Christmas, all that
healthy. Good stuff. Lord knows everybody's getting sick, so I hope everybody's just staying healthy, having a beautiful New Year's. I hope you guys had an awesome Christmas or whatever holidays that you guys end up celebrating. I hope it's been a great, great end of the year. It's been a really interesting start to the year. Let's try to start off strong and end this year strong as well.
Hell yeah.
So on that note, do you have anything you want to tell?
No, man, just check into us next time. We got a lot of ideas on the books.
For sure.
You know, we just got, like I said, my co-host and I, we just, life happens. You know, I had a pretty significant health scare. I won't get into that with you guys because I don't need to worry you guys, but I'm okay. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah. But we're back in the studio now. We're going to keep doing stuff. So just bear with us, guys. And we got a lot of cool stuff down the pipe.
Thank you. And like we always say, our channel is your channel. Have a great day. Stay blessed.